Namah Parvati Pataye Govindanam Sankirtanam
Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Welcome back everyone for Bharatam stories again for the great Mahabharata. We think of in this whole Guru Purnima time, which is still going on. This is still Ashadha Masa. We remember the amazing, incomparable Vedavyasa, who is the Parama Guru for all of us. We have, on his occasion, we celebrate his birthday as Guru Purnima. Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Sukatatam Taponidhim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidhaye Vasisthaya Namo Namaha Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindaya Tapatranetra Yenatvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. So this great Mahabharata composed by Vedavyasa, it's a wonderful way to celebrate this period of Guru Purnima in thinking of the great Vedavyasa. So when we met last, we spoke about the whole pivotal episode in the whole Mahabharata. The whole story revolves around that amazing set of events, scandalous set of events that happened with the playing of the Maya Juda, that Dyuta play by Shakuni on behalf of Duryodhana. So with all, they plotted for so many years, they were plotting, finally just unable to bear their jealousy against the Pandavas. They invited them for this play of Dyuta. Dhritarashtra supported them, and they had in that Sabha Parva, in Duryodhana's new Sabha, they had this play of Dyuta. And as we heard, that it escalated out of control. That whole arrogance of the Dushta Chatushtayam, as they are called, Duryodhana, Dusyasana, Shakuni and Karna, they just took control of the whole, political control of the whole situation, and they defeated the Pandavas in that Maya Dyuta. And without stopping there, they got carried away by their arrogance and pride. And we heard about the tremendous insult they did to the Pandavas, and in particular to Draupadi, with that Draupadi Vastrapaharana being the lowest point that whole episode went to. And then finally Dhritarashtra gave the boons to Draupadi. The Pandavas got back their kingdom, and yet they went back to Indraprastha, but they were called again because Duryodhana would not have it that way. He again convinced Dhritarashtra, his father, and again they came back, played Punat Dyuta, knowing both parties now knew the whole that it was this kind of a plot. Even Dharmaraja knew, everybody knew, Pandavas knew, but they came. They had no choice with Dhritarashtra calling them, because they would always follow they thought it is their dharma to follow the Ajna of Dhritarashtra, because he was the emperor and they're equal to their father. So they came, they played, and this this time the stake was whoever loses should go 13 years, 12 years to Vanavasa, spend 12 years in the forest, and 1 year of Ajñātavasa. 1 year, they should not be recognized by anyone. Nobody should be able to recognize or know them in the 13th year. And if they fulfill those 13 years, then they can come back and get their kingdom. If not, if they are found out in that 13th year, then they would have to go to 12 years Vanavasa again and repeat that whole cycle and go to a 13th year of Ajñātavasa again. So this was the rules of the Kauravas to permanently put the Pandavas in exile. That was their master plan. So they, with that stake, and naturally with Shakuni's Maya Dyuta, they won, and so these people were banished and to the forest. And so Dhritarashtra let this happen. And as we see some, even at that point, we see some extraordinary things happening. So then Kunti comes there. She finds out that her children, who were great kings and emperors and had conducted Rajasuya Yaga, are now going to the forest. And she decides to, and the Pandavas don't want to take her to the forest. So she stays back in Hastinapura. She blesses her children, and she decides not to stay in the palace with her when her children have been banished, but she stays with Vidura. So she decides to stay with Vidura. So she becomes, she goes through this very tough period when her children have to be away, she has to be away, and yet she stays with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, but not in the palace, but with Vidura. And throughout her life, you will see, in spite of everything, in spite of all these differences, even to the very end, Kunti stays with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Even at the end, when they in the before the Mahaprasthana, when Dhritarashtra and Gandhari go away after the Kurukshetra war, they go away to the forest. Kunti goes with them. Even when Pandavas become the rulers again after the Kurukshetra war, Kunti thinks it's her dharma to be with her sister-in-law and brother-in-law with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, and goes away with them along with Vidura to the forest. So it's extraordinary for we see how that extraordinary adherence to dharma of so many people in Mahabharata story. Gandhari, another towering character, who had, because she married Dhritarashtra, who was blind, she blindfolds herself for her whole life. The kind of dedication we see, and always thinking about what is dharma and following that. The way Kunti followed is amazing. So the Pandavas leave. And Dhritarashtra is very sad on the one hand, very, very concerned on the other hand. So his eyes and ears are, and his minister is Vidura. Throughout he has been telling him, don't do this, but he doesn't listen. So anyway, Pandavas are going away. So Dhritarashtra asks Vidura, how are they? What is, because he is hearing all the people are seeing, and now there's such a commotion because Pandavas are going away to the forest. How are they leaving? Then Yudhishthira is as calm as ever in every situation. He is as great, as always, and with a very calm, composed attitude he is going. So Vidura tells him how the Pandavas were going. He says, Bhima, was lifting his arms, waving his arms, and he was going. He was showing his shoulders, his arms. He was raising up and showing everybody, and he was going. That's how he was walking. Arjuna was taking sand in his hands, and he was letting the sand fall from his hands as he walked. He was walking with sand falling from his fist onto the ground. Like that he was walking. And Nakula had applied dust to all his body. He had taken dust and mud and applied to all his body, and he was going. And Sahadeva was walking with his head bowed down, not looking at anyone. So this is how they were going. So the Dhritarashtra is very surprised by all these different actions of the Pandavas as they were leaving to the forest. So yes, what is the meaning of that? So Vidura explains, Bhima is telling everybody, look at my arms, look at my strength. I am not forgetting this incident. I am going to come back, and with all my strength, I am going to fight with the Kauravas, and I am going to take vengeance on them. And he is displaying his strength and his resolution and his pratignyas to everyone. And that's how he is going to the forest. Arjuna is saying, I am going to come back and fight. You will see a shower of arrows, never ending. They will be raining upon you, just like this sand is falling on the ground. You won't be able to see, you won't be able to count the number of arrows that are coming out from my hands. Like that, I am going to attack with my showers of arrows, which will be flowing like sand. That's how Arjuna was indicating. And Nakula, he has such a wonderful, he's supposed to be one of the most handsome people. And he didn't want people to feel bad that such a handsome person is going to the forest. And therefore he covered himself with mud. And he didn't want them to feel that, see that. And similarly, Sahadeva, he was so sad and he was so overwhelmed with grief that, again, he didn't want people to see his eyes and see how sad he was. So he was just keeping his head bowed down, and he was going to the forest. In this way, Vidura described to Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra felt terror in his heart. He realized what a kind of a situation he has created. These people are so strong, so determined, and so blessed. They are not going to come back. They are not going to give up. They are going to come back and fight, and it is such a dangerous situation for the empire and for the country, for the people, and certainly for his children. And he was remembering the terrible, then he remembered again those terrible vows Bhima had made at the time of Draupadi Vastrapaharana. Because when in many books, in the Vyasabharatam, in Sanskritam, and in many languages, in Telugu, we remember those tremendous poems written by Nannaya Bhattu in the Sabha Parvam. Because when Dusyasana had started this Vastrapaharana, and he had insulted Draupadi like that, Bhima had come. We had talked about it last time. Come, enraged Bhima made a Bhikara Pratigya that was resounding in the ears of Dhritarashtra. Kuruvruddhul Guruvruddha Pandavul Anekul Suchundan Draupadi Nitlu Sesina Kalun Dusyasanun lokabhikara leelan vadhinchi tad vakshassaila tad vipula vakshassaila raktauga nirjara murvipati suchundan anin aswadintu nugrakritin. That was the bhikara pratigya of Bhima, about how he was going to rip open the chest of the Dusyasana in battlefield. And that was the mountainous chest of Dusyasana. Tad vipula vakshas shaila raktauga nirjara murvi, like a river, the blood will be flowing. And that kind of a very, very tremendous scene he had described, a terrible scene Bhima had described. And that was terrifying to the heart of Dhritarashtra. There will be a war, and in that war I am going to show my Bhikara Ugra Rupa. That is what Bhima had taken, the terrible Bhikara Pratigya. And when Duryodhana also had called Draupadi to sit on his thigh, and he had done very, very unacceptable behavior in the Sabha. Again, the enraged Bhima had taken a Bhikara Pratigya about Duryodhana also. That was also, he was remembering. Dharuni Rajya Sampada Madambuna Komali Krishna Juchi Rambhor Nijor Desamunundaga Bilchina Yidduratmu Durvara Madiya Bahu Parivartita Chanda Gada Bihata Bhagnoru Taroru Jeyudu Suyodhanu Ugra Ranantarambunan. And that was the terrible pratigya of Bhima about Duryodhana. He has shown such terrible behavior towards Draupadi. I am not going to leave him. That tremendous thigh of Duryodhana, which is like a tree, I am going to destroy that thigh with my gada. Durvara Madiya Bahu Parivartita Chanda Gada Bhigata Bhagnoru. Uru is thigh. Bhagnoru. I am going to break that thigh. Bhagnoru Taroru. Taroru means Tara Uru, like a taru, like a tree is his uru. That huge tree-like uru of Duryodhana, I am going to make it Bhagnoru. Bhagnoru Taroru Jeyudu Suyodhanu Ugra Ranantarambunan. So with this terrible pratigya, Bhikar pratigyas were resounding in the ears of Dhritarashtra, and he was very sad. And but then at the same time, a very confused character of Dhritarashtra we see. At the one hand, he is always so attached to his son that he wants, again, he is happy that he is going to be the king now for 13 years. And meanwhile, Pandavas go away to the forest in the way we described. And as they went, many people were sad, but many Brahmanas, many Paurajanas said, where Dharmaraja is present, that is our place. We don't care about wealth. We don't care about anything else. Where Dharmaraja is, that is our place. And so many people went along with them. So they went away to the forest, but again in the forest, so many people came. So there would be all feeding them, annadanas, taking things in the forest and having eating the fruits and the roots. But so many hundreds of people stayed with them. So many Brahmanas were with them. And so even in the forest, even in that kind of a situation, Dharmaraja, Yudhishthira, looked like a king in his sabha, even when he was sitting under a tree with all these people around him. So that was the way of the great Pandavas, as without, although they had given up all their riches and they were clad in very ordinary clothes and they were in the forest, still their character, their glory and their glow did not go anywhere. So they were shining like kings in the forest. With this, we'll conclude for today, and we will start with more stories of the amazing. As this Aranya Parva, which has just started now, we'll continue with that, with how the very interesting episodes that happened in the Aranya Parva. Interestingly, in the Mahabharata, the biggest Parva is Aranya Parva. You would think that is the time when there's not much of a story, but the biggest Parvas are in this kind of time. Adi Parva, Sabha Parva we talked about. Aranya Parva is biggest Parva. And again, after all the Yuddha Shatka, the 6 Yuddha Parvas, the Shanti Parva and Anushashanika Parva, the 2 Parvas are again huge Parvas, when Bhishma teaches so many things. So interestingly, the biggest Parvas are like this Aranya Parva and the Shanti Parva and Anushashanika Parva. And these are all huge lessons for us. So many stories, so many incidents, so many teachings that are that are timeless, that are applicable in so many ways to this day. So we'll remember some of those stories from the Aranya Parva in the coming sessions. Okay, that. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Namaste.